Welcome to the Red Text.
A crossroads of the holy and heretical.
Join us now for another episode in Unholy Communion.
Hello and welcome back to the Red Text podcast. My name is Fonzie. I am Witch Illumisente on Instagram and Twitter.
And my name is Ryan, aka the Mestizo Mystic on Instagram, or just at Mestizo Mystic on Twitter. Fonzie, how you doing?
Oh my gosh. I'm doing so good. Actually, you know what? To be totally honest with you, I haven't had a bad couple of weeks, honestly. So I can't really complain. I've been doing pretty well. I mean, there are things in my career life that is kind of annoying right now, and it's something that is totally not within it's to fault to no one. A lot of people are catching COVID right now. Like, this surge is so wild. And for all of you folks out there that don't know, I work in healthcare, so a lot of my colleagues are catching COVID this time around, and these are like COVID virgins. So I think a lot of the folks who didn't catch it the first time or the second time are now catching it this new strain is so contagious.
You just had it.
I just had it. Yeah, I just got over it a little bit, almost a month ago, I think it was, or maybe 3 weeks ago or something like that. I don't even remember anymore. It's all
pretty recently.
Yeah, it was pretty recently. So now everyone is just following suit. Everyone, I am such a trendsetter, I swear to God. So everyone at work now
goodbye
is I know, jail. But yeah, everyone at work is getting sick, and it's just it's getting just the surge is getting so wild. It feels like when this first happened, when the first surge happened. But thank God for vaccines and boosters, because people are coming out of it so fast. People are experiencing hardly any symptoms. The only thing that they're really being careful with is how contagious it is. They're keeping people away. They're contagious, but people are getting sick, but it's not something that's sending them to the hospital. You know what I mean? It's they quarantine for 10 days, and then at the very most, there are folks even coming back to work who are still positive but are not symptomatic, you know. And that's totally fine. Because the only real issue that you have, if you're positive but you're not symptomatic, it's not really an issue.
So you're not contagious?
Okay, so this is how it changes all the time, so that's why it's really confusing, and especially with us, the CDC sends us shit all the time. But this is how I understand it, and this is the way that we've been kind of operating when it comes to the virus. That's the reason why you have to monitor your symptoms, is because that kind of dictates how contagious you actually are. When you are vaccinated and boosted, it makes it much less likely for you to actually give it to somebody, and that's why it's really important to be vaccinated, because if you are vaccinated and you become positive, you actually giving it to somebody is much okay, I'm going to preface this and put a little disclaimer, cross-reference everything I'm about to say. This is how I understand it. If there's some, I don't want to be spreading misinformation, but this is how I understand it. This is the way that it's being operated in my facility. The likelihood of you spreading it if you are vaccinated is very low. And then also, if the risk of you catching it if you're vaccinated is also very low. And if you do catch it, the risk of you dying from it is almost zero. It's so small. A lot of the times, if you do catch it, it's usually because it's a different strain. It's a different strain that's mutated from the strains that you are actually vaccinated from. So it's very convoluted. The virus is really it's really smart. It knows how to mutate. But the thing about it is, with every new strain that happens, it becomes less lethal. It just becomes more contagious. That's the only thing that really makes the virus really annoying, is that it's not necessarily going to kill you, but it is going to make it more likely for you to catch it. We are still very much in a pandemic, and that's what people need to understand, is the vaccine is good in the sense that we can in some way live our lives again, where we can be around people. everyone is bound to get it. Like this is like kind of like the life that we live right now, or the world that we live in now. Everyone is bound to get it. It's bound
Would
to
you
happen.
say virtually it's like almost becoming like a common cold at this point, where it's almost like anyone can get it anytime?
I think it's, yeah, I mean, I don't want to necessarily kind of put it in the same, category as the cold, because like, I mean, at the same time, that's kind of how it happened too with the cold, where, the at one point the cold killed people. It's just like the flu. It's exactly how the flu happened, where, the flu was so aggressive at the beginning, like the first strain of the flu killed people. And now the flu is mutated in this. That's why it was so important for folks to get vaccinated early, because that would have slowed the mutations. But we are where we are. So at this point, it's like it's at a point to where, God forbid you ever catch it, but odds are you're probably going to catch it if you haven't already. And the thing about being actually catching it, even though I don't want folks to catch it, is that you're practically immune from that strain for a good. Uh, there are conflicting numbers, but there are folks who say that it's 3 months. There are folks who say 6 months. So you're kind of in the clear. Like, I don't even have to test anymore at work for the next 90 days, because like I'm practically immune from it for a while, because I had it. So yeah, that's kind of just an annoyance right now. It's not something that I like anticipated. Work is really busy because there are a lot of folks. We're very short staffed because a lot of folks are staying home because they're getting sick. So yeah, that's just kind of what I've been dealing with work wise. But in my personal life, I'm having a grand old time. I went to Dave and Buster's yesterday with a friend of mine, because I was just so like, I was itching to play arcade games. I love arcade games. That's something that I've never actually said any before, but I love arcades. Like, I love like skee ball. I kill at skee ball. I am in no way athletic, but like the basketball game, I'm pretty good at it. Like, I can shoot. I can't play basketball, but I can shoot. And then like the coin pusher games, I love those games. Oh my gosh. So Mario Kart,
Oh
I
fuck yeah.
dominate. Even though I lost this night.
We'll see about that when you visit me.
Do you have a Switch?
I do.
Oh, okay. Who do you play?
I always main Tanuki Mario.
I always main Bowser.
Huh. You don't strike me as a Bowser girl.
Bowser or Metal Mario, the heavier characters. I always go for the heavier characters, because they drift easier. But we could talk about that later. We don't have to talk about Mario Kart right now. I do kill at Mario Kart though, I'm not gonna lie. But so yeah, how are you? Oh my gosh, you just came back from your vacation. How was your vacation?
It was really good. First of all, I did not know Portland gets as hot as it fucking does in the summer, and I'm not built for the heat. Bitch, my last day yesterday, it was in the 90s. I was melting. And my partner
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
"Oh yeah, like the summers here in Portland, like they're very summery. The rest of the year, obviously, it's cloudy and rainy, but their summers are like summer all summer long. Whereas SF, oh, the hell was that? My audio like glitched out. Anyways, summers in SF, like before I went on my vacation to see my partner, like there were some pretty sunny days. It was pretty warm out, but like now and for the rest of the week, it's supposed to be pretty cloudy and muggy out. So even during the summers here, it's not, summery all summer long. But it was a beautiful trip. It was every time I see them in person and we get to see each other in person, like things happen, but they only bring us so much closer together because we handle them so healthily. I've never had such a healthy relationship. And I think my therapist knows that too. And
Can I
it's
ask you a
just,
question? Because
yeah.
you've said this before. Do you think that you are having such a healthy relationship with this particular person? Is it because of the person, or maybe does like the distance have something to do with it? Like, is there
Both.
Do you think really?
I think he's 3 years older than me, but like I don't always say that age necessarily determines emotional intelligence and maturity, because it does not by any means.
It does not by any means.
But like he's just as good at communicating as I am, and we also have difficulties in the same areas. So we're both very self-aware of our strengths and our weaknesses, which allow us to communicate that and work through them together. And then obviously the distance, like it allows us to spend so much more quality time and enjoy that time when we are together in person.
Yeah.
but like the love is true, the love is real. We plan on moving in together when his lease ends next year, because he wants to
Oh
move to
my
SF.
God.
And so it was a great trip. It was lots of fun. I
Yay.
love San Francisco, always going to be my home and where my heart is, but it's always nice to take a break and be in a different environment. And I got to see my grandparents while I was up there because they live like 30 minutes north of Portland, and so we got to get breakfast with them, which was sweet.
Oh.
And yeah, it was a good time. And then sadly we don't know the next time we're going to see each other, but it's nice because we tell each other how like every time we see each other like a month or two has passed, and so it's kind of like it's helping the years speed by. Our 6-month anniversary is in September, like, but we've been
Oh my
dating.
God.
It's been, what is it, next month will be 6 months since we like first had our very first date, so it's like already almost half a year since we first met,
That's so crazy.
right? And so it's great. Excuse me. It's great, and I'm happy. And yesterday was the goodbyes I thought would get easier over time, but it's quite the opposite, because as we grow closer and closer, the goodbyes become harder and harder to deal with at the airport. um, but overall it was a good time. And I set up a Guadalupe altar for him last time I was in Portland about 2 months ago, because he was having spiritual activity in his home. This motherfucker, I get there, that altar like had ash all over it from incense, and I was like, I'm gonna clean this up for you. I'm gonna tidy this up. You better promise me you're gonna keep this tidy.
I saw that. You sent me the picture and I was like, what are you doing, boy? She's not gonna like this. Clean it up. Clean it
Right.
up.
And so and yesterday before we left to the airport, I did like a very mini short ritual with him where I had Guadalupe and Santa Muerte. I had Santa Muerte on the altar with his Guadalupe altar, and I asked them to kind of just bless and sanctify our relationship and to watch over
Oh,
us and
that's
guide
lovely.
us. And it was really beautiful, even though it was like a 5-minute prayer and ritual. But speaking of prayers, that's gonna be part of today's topic.
Yeah, Ryan. Oh my God. So actually, it's so funny that because when things like that happens, like this is like when you're going through kind of like a very um emotional time, not in the sense that like in the bad sense of emotions, just emotional in general, right? Just good emotions, bad emotions, just all emotions. When you're trying to deal with life, what we're talking about today is kind of how I cushion the blow, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, tell us what we're talking about today, Brian.
Yes, we're talking about three things that all integrate with one another in some way, shape, or form. We were talking about prayers and novenas and candle magic, and basically doing novenas with candles because it incorporates a candle and prayer. And a novena actually stems from the Latin word, I believe, novum, which is 9. And
9.
the importance of that stems from the Catholic tradition of when Jesus ascended into heaven 40 days after his resurrection. Mary and the apostles were in the upper room of the temple for 9 days in prayer. And then on that 9th day became the feast day known as Pentecost, when Jesus sent the Holy Spirit, which again is part of the Holy Trinity, to descend upon Mary and the apostles while they were praying for that 9th day in the upper room of the temple, which allowed them to speak in tongues and go forth and spread the gospel to all 4 corners of the world. But also the Holy Spirit is what imbues us with our mystical powers and gifts as Christians, be it speaking in tongues, or for me specifically is prophecy for sure, but also the gifts such as like understanding and knowledge and wisdom and fortitude and so on and so forth. But this is where the tradition of novenas and praying for 9 days comes from, is that holiday of Pentecost, where it was the 9 days of prayer and then the Holy Spirit descended upon them, such as when Jesus promised them that it would.
Yes, and it is my favorite form of magic, or my favorite, most utilized technique or practice that I incorporate into my witchcraft, and also into my devotional work.
Me too.
It's both. It's so all encompassing. That's why I love novenas. Novenas are everything because it incorporates something that's tactile, like a candle, right? A very simple idea, which is a candle. Spell work, which includes, you can include plant allies, anointing oils, ritual, right? Spirit allies, spirits themselves, because you can associate your novena with a saint or a spirit or an ancestor. or an event, right? There are novenas for Christmas. There are novenas for Easter. There are novenas for feast days, right? For a particular saint. And then also it incorporates divination because you can scry with the candle while it's burning, and then you can also scry when the candle is burnt out. You can read the glass. So it encompasses an enormous
Mm-hmm.
amount of magic into one basic element, right? So that's
She's
why
verse.
oh, she's so verse. Oh my god, she said, I will do it all, right? She said, I will do this. I will do the drag brunches. She said, I will do the circuit parties. She said, I will do the pride parades. She is verse. She will do OnlyFans. She will do By Latin Men. She will do it all. So yes, that's the reason why I love I did not grow up around novenas. And when I say novenas, y'all, I'm not talking about just the candles themselves. I'm talking about the actual like act of like a novena, which is primarily a prayer, right? Or a sequence of prayer, or like a consistent prayer, right? And it's usually 9 days. It actually should be 9 days because that's what novena means, 9. So I'm not, because I think a lot of people kind of conflate novena with candle, because that's kind of what they kind of call it, is like a novena candle. So like burn a novena, do a novena, right? But when I'm saying do a novena, I mean burn the candle with the prayer on top of it, right? So it's
It's
just,
become synonymous, I'd say.
I think so too. I think it has become synonymous, but I think we always talk about like, okay, a candle's a candle until you actually put something into it. It's not really inherently magical until you actually, I mean, that's also not necessarily true. I think there's a little bit of nuance when it comes to that, because I think the candle itself does have some sort of um you know association depending on what the candle has on it, and et cetera,
Life.
et cetera. Yeah. Also if there's a depiction on it, like
Totally.
if there's a picture of Mary on it, like that's a magical candle with it, just from the image itself. But at the same time, it's just like if you're doing some sort of
Hmm.
ritual with it or some sort of spell work with it, I think it's really important to incorporate all aspects of a novena, and do it properly. So Ryan, you and I have experience doing novenas together.
Hmm.
We did a novena to the Holy Spirit recently. um and I think it's important
Yes.
for us to kind of tell folks like what is incorporated into a novena.
Absolutely. First, I want to add, for those who may be transitioning into or coming back to folk Catholicism from a more pagan background, it's also great to realize that you have all 4 elements when it comes to doing a novena, or whether it's a 9-day novena or just a novena candle spell, because you have the wax of the candle for earth, the fire of the light of the flame of the candle for fire, of course. And you could burn incense for air, but also you could consider the spirit of your breath. Just saying those prayers is the element of air, and then as the wax melts, it also becomes the element of water. So water and earth in one. Unless you're also setting out a glass of water for the spirit which you're working with the novena, then you have water there as well. But novena candle magic is just so versatile, like we said, that it also incorporates all 4 elements. So there's just it seems almost too good to be true, because they're not always simple per se, but it's a lot less intense than doing a full-blown ritual that you may see, like with a cow's tongue or with a poppet or anything like that. All those things can definitely be incorporated into a novena spell or
Mhm.
novena magic, but really all you would really need to do to get a job done sometimes is that novena 7-day candle and your prayer, and you'd be surprised what you can accomplish just with that. But yeah, so novenas are so powerful because a lot of the novenas from Catholicism come from so long ago. Just how we talk about just saying an Our Father or an Hail Mary holds so much inherent power because these prayers have been said over hundreds of years by those who came before us, both spiritual and ancestral. Novenas have just the same strength. And for me, growing up Filipino and Catholic, the the only time I really remember vividly doing novenas growing up is when a family member would pass away. And so basically in Filipino culture and in Catholicism, we believe that doing a novena for a person immediately following their passing for 9 days helps their spirit to transition much quicker and easier through purgatory or whatever penitence they must go through to reach the divine, to reach heaven in this case, or to become one with God. And so you'll find that a lot of Filipino people will hold a novena for a recently deceased loved one. I know I lost an aunt to COVID at the very beginning of 2021. She passed away New Year's Eve, actually, from 2020 to 2021. And the novena started for her, I think, a day or two after her passing. Like, they start pretty much soon after that person passes to help their spirit transition. So not only can you do novena magic to attain, spiritual results, magical results in the physical realm for money, whatever, but also on behalf of spirits, whether that's for a deity or a saint or a relative that passed away. So again, they are so versatile and so powerful. And think about it, like when you're setting an intention or saying a prayer for 9 days in a row, you're adding 9 days of power behind that one intention or that one petition or that one prayer that you're offering up. And that is so powerful.
Right.
And all y'all who are listening who are like, I'm neurodivergent, 9 days in a row, that's so hard. Trust me, I get that. That's why the only time I've actually completed a full 9-day novena is with Fonzie, when they were mentioning the Holy Spirit novena we did, because we held each other accountable and text each other every night for 9 nights in a row. Like, hey, are you ready to pray? You ready to do this novena? Otherwise, I never will finish it.
And let me tell you something, I would have done the same exact thing. And because I had a trip in the middle of our 9-day novena, literally, like the last half of the novena, I was going to Vegas and I was like, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to do this. I'm going to finish. I'm so happy I did, because I was just like, what am I going to do? I can't just like put a pause on this novena for 3 days and then come back to it later. It doesn't make any sense. So I was just like, I'm going to bring the candle with me. I brought the candle with me to my hotel in Las Vegas. And I was telling my friend, my best friend, who was my roommate, I was just like, don't touch this I made an altar. I did everything. I cleansed the space. I consecrated everything. I lit it the second I got into, that was the first thing I did. I didn't even pee first. I literally went to like this table that was in the hotel room before I even took a piss. I set up this altar. I lit the candle and I told my best friend, do not touch this while we're here. Do you understand? And then I was like, every day while we were there, I set aside time at a specific time to meet up with Ryan and FaceTime with them and do the novena. And it was very, very worth it. It was so powerful. And that was the reason why I wanted to do it. And we did it.
We fucking did it. But yeah, it's great because you can make up your own novena to whatever spirit, deity, ancestor you want. But again, when you look at Catholicism and the mysticism behind it all, you find treasure troves of books and already existing prayers and novenas to Jesus. To Jesus, yes, but to like anything you can like imagine, like so many saints, so many angels, to Mary, to the Holy Spirit, to the precious blood of Christ. Like it's there's so many, and they're all so fucking powerful in their own significant ways.
There is a novena for something. There is a novena for everything. And that's the reason why, because it's structured, but it's also very, there's something that is traditional about it. It's structured. It's something that's been prayed for years and years and years and years, over and over and over and over and over again. But also you can make it very personal. You can make it very customized. Like there are times when we were doing our novena to the Holy Spirit, Ryan and I, we would read the prayers before we would actually start praying them. And we would redact the things that we didn't like about it and replace it with something that we did. I don't remember exactly what we were doing or like what parts we redacted, but there were parts of it that didn't make us feel comfortable. Like there were parts of it that were like, for example, there were things about it that were, gender specific. For example, if there's something that makes you feel uncomfortable about a prayer that's gender specific and you want to make it a little bit more inclusive, you can change that. There are parts that was more exclusive to a certain group of people, and we redacted that part and replaced it with something more inclusive. Like you can make it personal to you, and the beauty in that is that you can pass that on to other folks who maybe someone who's learning from you at the same time, and then you kind of build a new tradition, so it's like a tradition built from an old tradition, and then you kind of make it your own. It's a beautiful thing to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, just like everything else we talk about on this podcast, like yes, there's the importance and power behind tradition, but also you can start your own tradition. Alter these prayers, take out what makes you uncomfortable, and make it your own and pass that down. And bam, then you get to start a whole lineage of something new that from that point on is going to gain power from all those you share it with, be it family or friends or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any, I'm curious, Fonzie, are there any novenas you've been wanting to doing to any specific saints or feast days or angels or anything like that since we've done the novena to the Holy Spirit?
Yes. Okay. So, I am planning on doing a novena to Saint Michael this year. His I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think his feast day is September. I think it's in September.
I think I want to say it's September 29th, but I could be wrong. Hold on.
See, I was gonna say September 13th, but I don't remember. I
Saint
think it's in September.
Michael feast day, because it's known as Michaelmas, no? Oh my god, holy shit, I was right. Thursday, September 29th.
29th. Okay, thank you very much. Because, yeah. So that's like I know that he had an original feast day that was just his. I don't remember what it was though, but
I think it was in October, or
Was
I
it
might be
October?
mixing him up with Raphael, because like you said, there's angels who had their own specific feast days, and then they all got condensed into Michaelmas.
Into Michaelmas. Yeah. So Michaelmas at the end of September, I'm planning on doing a novena leading up to Michaelmas, because I have been trying to cultivate a relationship with Michael for the last year, and it's listen, I know what I was getting myself into. I know how Michael is. It's like I wish I was like Celeste, where Celeste just it was so instant. Like Michael like was so like, I vibe with you, girl, like you and I are friends. Like they were like Celeste was like top 8. I don't know if anyone's gonna understand that reference, but like Celeste was like top 8, MySpace top 8 immediately, and I was just like, I want to be friends too. Like this really sucks. But I'm planning on doing a Michaelmas novena this year, or a novena to Michael this year. I also want to do a novena to um, Our Lady of Sorrows, because since Easter, I have been cultivating a very, very close relationship with Our Lady of Sorrows. She is primarily the aspect of Mary that I am very close to right now, and that I'm working very closely with the work that I am doing right now, because a lot of the work that I'm doing right now is not for the faint of heart. Let me just say that.
I would love to do those novenas accountable, or hold each other accountable for those novenas again, because I have actually recently been developing my relationship with Saint Michael. I actually, when I was visiting the grotto, which is the National Sanctuary of Our Most Sorrowful Mother in Portland, I bought a chaplet. I bought the Saint Michael chaplet, and I've been trying to start praying that. I don't know if I'll be able to do it every day, but I've done it twice this week already. And I also got stones from the grotto that St. Michael appeared in Italy that are quote unquote relics, but they're extremely powerful to carry for protection. And a lot of exorcists, Catholic exorcists, will incorporate those stones in exorcism. So I haven't had any signs and symbols from Michael just yet, because I didn't want to make Fonzie jealous and be like, oh, I'm already getting
I swear to God, I was just about to say too, if Michael likes you after this, I'm going to scream.
But I would love to do that novena with you. And it's funny because I was going to ask if you wanted to do one to the Sorrowful Mother together too, because
yes,
that's something I also. So Michael, the Sorrowful Mother, I definitely want to try my best to do one for Guadalupe, since I consecrated myself to her last year, when we did our Marian consecration. But
yes.
Yeah, that.
Have you ever? This is something that popped into my head. I think like it was around my birthday, which I'm not gonna say what day that is, but it was around my birthday, which is past. Doing a novena to yourself. Have you ever tried to do a novena for yourself?
No, I
Okay,
never considered that.
This is the okay. There's I might say something right now that might get me in trouble with my Catholic friends. There has been this aspect of worshiping yourself that I have been adopting, because I've been hanging around a lot of Satanists lately.
As one does.
As one does, as a transgressive heathen that I am. So I've been hanging around with a lot of Satanists, who I love. They are my friends, and I love Satanists. I actually love more Satanists than I love Christians, to be honest with you. And if you look up the tenets to Satanism, you'll understand why. But there is this aspect of Satanism where they don't really worship a god, they worship themselves. And so I had this idea in my head of lighting a candle for myself so I would worship me. I would light a candle and say prayers to my heavenly court, and kind of have them pray for me, like pray their admiration for me, like kind of imbue that admiration they have for me, their love for me, and kind of return it, like kind of do like a volley of love between me and my heavenly court, and it's just centered around me. So it's an interesting concept. It's something that I thought about a couple of months or a month ago or something. It was a passing thought, and I want to see if I can do something to that, or something for that.
You just gave me such a wonderful idea, and I always have great ideas and never implement them. But the whole idea of a novena to the self, but what about a novena to heal our inner child? Like a 9-day novena to our inner child specifically, to pray like, I send you the love you didn't get as a kid. You are protected in ways you never received back then. Is it like that? Is such a beautiful idea.
Just read my motherfucking mind, because that's exactly what I was gonna say. You literally took the words straight out of my motherfucking mouth, you fucking thief. That's exactly right, because the aspect of worshiping yourself, because there was this one of the things that kind of prompted this as well. There was this, I can't believe I'm getting this from TikTok. It was from TikTok. There was this TikTok that I heard of this girl saying, the person that you are now is the person that your younger self would have felt safe with. And that it brought me to tears. Like, I was so emotional when I heard that. I don't know if that was a quote from somebody, but it was so powerful to me, where it was like, the person that you are now is the person that your younger self or your child self would have felt safe with. And doing a novena to show the past, because I always see that person as dead. I see that person as he's gone. Like, he's not, he's like, I've kind of shed that skin. Like, I'm not that person anymore. And it would be shocking. Right. I think it would be actually kind of terrifying for that kid to see who I am now. Like, it would be just shocking. And the fact that I like the idea of sitting down and having a conversation with that child and telling them everything that I am now, I think would bring that kid to tears, honestly, because it's like everything that I wanted to be, I finally got to be,
Absolutely.
So having reverence for that child and knowing you are the foundation as to why I am so strong now, and the reason why I am so powerful now is because of the things that you went through, and you survived. Like, the reason why I'm surviving is because you survived, so having and it's all encompassing, doing a novena to yourself is kind of an idea of all encompassing, loving the person that you are right now, having reverence for the person that you are now, with all your good traits and your faults, like all the nasty, ugly things that you have, like, that you hate about yourself, but also all the wonderful things, because they just make you who you are, and they make you so lovable, and they make you the reason why people are, what the reason why your friends are your friends. Those are worthy of respect. Those are worthy of prayer. Those are worthy of reverence. Those are worthy of all of it. Like, those are worthy of all the things that we put into, like, why we love trees so much. Like, we deserve the same amount of reverence than that nature. Like, the amount of respect that we have for nature, we also deserve that same respect. So I think, like, a novena to yourself is an interesting idea. So
now that just gave me the idea of giving or doing a novena for, like, your local land spirits.
Oh yeah, okay, so let's talk about that. Like, how would you, because I've done a spell before. I have a traveling spell, like, where I do I burn candles in, like, if I'm traveling somewhere, I'll burn candles inside my hotel room and give thanks to the spirits of that land, like to a foreign land. I've shared it on my
Mm.
Instagram before. So but it's not a novena spell. It's not like a 9-day thing, because usually, like, I mean, I'm not there for 9 days usually. But like, how would you do that? Tell me, how would you do a novena to honoring the land spirits?
So first off, I want to preface that I saw this amazing, wonderful idea from Frankie, aka Chaotic Witch Ant, that I never would have thought on my own. But they were saying how that, and a way they connect with herbal and plant allies is using a Polaroid camera. Because I was taught, and I can't remember where I read this or who taught me this, but I firmly believe that a I was taught that a Polaroid photo or an analog photo contains much more of an essence of either a person or whatever's taken a picture of than a digital photo. So sure, you can use a digital photo you took off of someone's Instagram to do baneful work or whatever work you want to on them, but like that Polaroid catches that person's spirit as it is in that moment and is much more of a powerful tag lock than a digital photo. So what Frankie was saying in their video was that they'll go into nature, and rather than harvesting a plant, they'll take a Polaroid picture of that plant, then bring that Polaroid picture to their altar and then bond with the plant spirit that way. So rather than, again, if it's not fire safe to take a candle into the forest, especially in California where everything is in a major drought right now, taking a Polaroid photo, or if you can only manage a digital photo, that as well, because it's really just to honor the spirit. You're not doing any magic per se, and bringing that home and then putting that on whatever working altar you use and doing a novena there. Now, if you can for 9 consecutive days go to that nature spot and do prayer work, that's awesome, but not everyone has that privilege or accessibility in order to do so. And so I guess I would do that novena by going and taking a Polaroid photo and bringing that home and doing a novena then. As for the prayer, I don't know, because this is all stuff that I'm talking to you for the first time and I've never done. So I don't know off the top of my head how I would necessarily shape the framework of my prayer for the novena to that local land spirit. But obviously just giving it thanks for letting me live near it. Thanks for letting me trek through your woods. I mean, as of right now, like when I went on a spontaneous hike this past week in Portland, and I've gotten to the habit of making sure I say tabi tabi po whenever I'm going through nature. For those unfamiliar or not Filipino, and this ranges in dialect depending where you are in the Philippines, but when you say tabi tabi po while you're going through nature, it's giving acknowledgement and respects to the nature spirits, because the Philippines are a very, very, I don't want to say superstitious, but spiritual people, especially pre-colonial Philippines, and it's believed that if you go through nature without giving proper respects, you can piss off land spirits and they can wreck your fortune, they can wreck your health, they can wreck your emotional or physical health, your love life, whatever. And so just by simply saying tabi tabi po as you walk through, you're acknowledging the spirits of the land, and you're saying, like, kind of like, hey, I'm here, sorry, like I respect you, like I know this is your place, I'm just coming through, forgive me for interrupting. And so that's one thing I try to get into the habit of doing, is saying tabi tabi po anytime I go on a hike or even just through the park. During the same hike I was just mentioning, like I had some leftover pieces of chocolate, and while it's not safe to feed wildlife, I did throw a couple of pieces of chocolate like into the wilderness, just like, it's sweets, it was dark chocolate, and it was a sacrifice because honestly I wanted to eat it, but I'm like, you know what, I'm going through nature right now, let me just toss some to, I know it'll melt and decompose, and so hopefully the nutrients from this will help the plants in whatever way. I hope I didn't kill anything by doing that, but that was like, not a spell but an offering. But yeah, how would you go about, do you think you would do a novena to the land?
All of what you said was fucking incredible. I love the Polaroid idea. That is so so smart. I love that idea. But going back to what you talked about, like, I don't know about the prayers, like what prayers I would do, make it up, like just pray. Like if you're gonna do it 9 days in a row, just do 9 days of prayer a day. Just make it up, just pray. There's this, I think, something that I am trying to unlearn is thinking that I need a prayer in front of me to pray whenever I pray. Sometimes you just don't have one, and if you're in a pinch, just pray. And there's no, the only thing that makes that makes prayer and talking different is that prayer is you're talking to your court, your heavenly court. It's the only difference. Just talk to them.
Yeah.
Just say words and talk to them like a conversation. Like I literally speak to my spirits like I speak to my friends. That's literally how I speak to them. in the same, like, I don't try to make my words fancy. I don't try to make them rhyme. They understand what we're saying. So just talk. Just say what you have to say. Say what you, it doesn't have to be, like I said, if you stumble over your words, it doesn't matter. It just talk, just make it up. Even if it's the same prayer, like the same thing, you're saying the same thing over and over again, that doesn't matter. Just say it. Just communicate. Just commune, right? What I would want to do is, before I even think about doing the novena, and like, doing, just have like a base relationship with your environment first. Like, have the idea of, like, have the initial respect for the place that you're going, whatever.
Don't litter. Go pick
Having
up some trash.
Yeah, oh my gosh, seriously, you're taking all of my words. Like, what's going on? You're like taking all my words. But yeah, Ryan is 100% right. What better offering can you give to nature than picking up trash? Like, it's so simple, and then, like, kneeling down, touching the ground and saying thank you for everything. Thank you, whatever. Going to the beach and, like, touching the water and just being thankful that the water is there, and just existing, just for the sake of just existing. What I do, I kind of already do this. It's not a novena, but it's something that I do. There's a beach here that's very close to me, that's like my favorite beach, and when Ryan comes to LA, I plan on taking them there. It's my favorite beach. It's not super secluded, but it's pretty empty most of the time. There's not a lot of people there because it's kind of residential. It's like very affluent, like millionaires houses on the beach, so there's not a lot of, like, just like locals who go there. But I go there because I don't give a shit. I'll go there because it's a beautiful beach and there's not a lot of people, so I'll spend the day there, where I'll pitch it like a little tent for myself, like it's like a little canopy, and then I'll bring food and I'll have like a little picnic. I'll bring a book, I'll bring music. I make it a day where it's just me, and I feed myself, I feed the land, I make an offering, and I build an altar. I literally build an altar on the beach. I shit you not. I have pictures of this in my it's not in my feed. It's in my stories. It's in my archive. I posted this on my story a couple of months ago when I went there.
Oh, it was so beautiful.
Thank you. I build an altar on the beach, and I do a whole thing where I set intentions, I burn petitions, I say thank you to the land. I do it very frequently. I give offerings, etc., etc. It's all that stuff. So doing things like that is a beautiful way to kind of do a novena towards. I'm also going to say this just to preface, do not leave candles as an offering, or do not bury candles. Do not do anything like that, please, because candles are made of very toxic paraffin, and they do not break down. They're very toxic. To just saying that, I don't leave candles anywhere. I always take those things with me, but bring them with you if it's a safe place, like to the beach. Like, candles are very fine on the beach. Like, you can bring candles to the beach. That's wonderful. But if that's
beeswax are probably like the only ones that you could probably leave, right?
Or soy.
soy.
Like 100% soy, which is something that I try to use. Like the 9-day candles that I use, which are something that I got from who did I get this person, where did I get this tip from? Anyways, I have these 9-day candles that are made of 100% soy. Yeah, that's fine, but the outside is made of plastic, so like I wouldn't want to leave those either. Just try not to leave candles out, bring them with you. But yeah, like, and like, even without all the stuff, don't even worry about all the stuff. Don't even worry about the candle. Just go out there and pray. If you want to go to a certain place for 9 days in a row and sit there and pray for 9 days, that is a novena right there. Just go there and pray.
Absolutely.
And give thanks and commune with the local land spirits, the spirits of air, the spirits of land, the spirit of the sea, spirit of whatever. And just be absolutely devout, and just have just the utmost respect for everything that's around you.
Yeah, I like to say, when in doubt, Hail Mary it out. And actually, I
Oh
don't mean
yeah.
I've never said that before until now. So but
Hail Mary it out.
yeah, like we were saying, if you want to do a novena at home and you're finding it even difficult just to talk from your heart as if the spirit is a friend, like you do, Fonzie, like a Hail Mary for 9 days in a row. Again, that prayer carries so much charge, intention, and power behind it that still serves as a wonderful offering, so long as you're saying it with gratitude and
Mhm.
love from your heart during that novena to whatever you're trying to venerate or praise. So, even if you're having trouble figuring out what to say from the heart, say a traditional prayer for 9 days in a row. You don't have to say it consecutively either. Just if it's your first time doing a novena and you're extremely intimidated by the fact of doing something 9 days in a row, which it can be very intimidating, just do one prayer, one simple prayer you either know or memorize, or traditional one for those 9 days for that novena, and you'll find it a lot less intimidating.
Yeah.
There's actually a novena I did, I want to say it was after our Holy Spirit one. There was a loved one of mine who was facing eviction, and lo and behold, like this novena worked. It was to St. Jude. It was my first time doing a novena to St. Jude, but I didn't have 9 days to spare because their deadline was coming up. So what I did was I did 9 hours in one day, which you'll actually find on the back of some Catholic prayer cards, is to do for every single hour for 9 hours on one singular day. You do that prayer for that novena, because you're still hitting that nine, that numerical number of 9. Or there's also what's known as a triduum. It's Triduum, triduum, and it's 3 days. And so rather than 9 days, you condense it into 3, which I'm assuming you do three prayers on each of those 3 days. So that way, for those of us who are neurodivergent or just simply cannot fit 9 days into their schedule, then do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever 3 days in a row that you're going to be able to fit in 3 consecutive days of 3 consecutive prayers. So
Yeah. And like don't get hung up on like the right way to do something or the wrong way to do something. Just do it. Like this is a folk practice. Just do what you're able to do. And coming from a Catholic perspective, the Catholic spirit's very forgiving. Just do it with sincerity. Don't do it because you just feel like you just like you feel obligated to do it. I mean, do it because you're obligated to do it, but do it with sincerity. That's really, really important. You have to make sure, don't make your prayers in any way disingenuous. They're like what Ryan said, the prayers are, there's a lot of power in those prayers, and make sure that you mean what you're saying. I mean, imagine in one day, just in 24 hours, with everyone in the entire world, how many times someone said the Hail Mary, and you say it once, how powerful that is. Just in one day, the millions of people who said the Hail Mary at least once. I say it at least once a day. I say a Hail Mary before I start driving. Like I do the sign of the cross. I touch my chaplet, which is the talisman inside of my car, and I say one Hail Mary, and then I drive. It takes 1 second to, not 1 second, but it takes like 20 seconds to do it. But imagine the power. But you have to say it with sincerity. You say it with like, I'm saying this because I want to be protected while I drive. I'm saying this because I want to have a good day. I'm saying this because I want to protect, whatever the case may be. Say it with, and this goes with any sort of prayer that you're going into. Do a novena, do go into it with sincerity. If you fuck up, like Ryan and I can tell you 100%, like we fuck up all the time. We with our, like 9 days is a long time to do something consistently. It is, trust me. But if you're going into it with sincerity, the amount of time that you actually do spend doing the prayers and doing the rituals and doing whatever, if it's coming from a place of sincerity, it's coming with power, it's coming with love, it's coming.
Oh, it's coming.
So Ryan, I want to ask you, because we are not only a folk Catholic podcast, but we are also a witchcraft podcast. How do you make it witchcraft? How do you make a novena witchcraft?
Yeah, so simply you could just get a novena candle and just light that candle, right? But like you mentioned earlier, incorporating herbs and oils. And sometimes all I'll have is an oil, but I'll take one oil over adding nothing at all. And that's not to say adding nothing isn't important. Again, there's practitioners who can do more with a single taper candle and a glass of water than someone can with 20 novena candles. So it's really depending on your experience, knowledge, and personal power. But I have this fucking awesome candle scribe that I got from this from this practitioner who is a metal worker. They go by Troll Cunning Forge. I'm blanking on their actual name, but they make the coolest fucking shit because they have their own forge. Anyways, what I have is a candle scribe, but it's in the shape of a scythe, and so specifically, it was bathed in the waters of Devil's Lake and some other stuff, and I use it a lot with Santa Muerte, but it also just makes great. It's a great tool for inscribing on candle wax, which is its purpose. And so I'll use that to write names or sigils or birth dates or whatever it may be onto candles. And so you can also use it to, because it's a miniature scythe, and the not the scythe then that you would use to like traditionally cut something, but like the bottom of the staff, that's the part that's sharpened into a scribe. I use that to plunge a hole into my novena candles, because I was taught by my teachers in Mexican folk magic to push holes into the candle wax, so then you can either put a paper petition in them or load it with oils and herbs. So, and I do varying amounts of holes depending on the work that I'm doing. So usually I go between 3, 4, and 5. I've never had to do really more than 5 holes and less than 3. And then I'll fill up each of those holes with a little bit of oil, and then also oil around kind of like the top of the wax. And this is after I've inscribed it, because it's a bit hard to inscribe once you've dressed it with oils and herbs. And then sprinkle my herbs in whatever way is necessary, but again, don't like my favorite practitioner, J. Ellen Cross, aka Oregon Wood Witch, says, it's a candle, not a pipe bomb. You do not need to be overloading it with oils and herbs, because then 1, that affects the burn of the candle. 2, it may make the entire candle burn black, and you're going to think the devil's chasing after you, when really it's just because you didn't properly fix the candle. Just a little bit of oil, a little bit of herbs, bada bing, bada boom. You can tape or glue your petition to the side of the candle, put it underneath the candle. It's really, like we've said so much throughout this episode, novena candle magic is so fucking versatile. But how do you spicy it up and make it witchy?
Well, I'm gonna just go back to what you were talking about, incorporating oils and herbs. Okay, just the act of adding herbs and oils, in my personal opinion, I feel like I have to preface everything I say with that. In my personal opinion, just adding herbs and just adding oils is not witchcraft. Okay, but yes, that is something that I do after you connect with whatever herbs and oils you're actually incorporating. So
yes,
right? So spirit of rosemary, like, because everyone wants to use rosemary, right? Everyone thinks that rosemary's she's the it girl, right? So spirit of rosemary, what is rosemary consenting to do for you? Is it appropriate to incorporate rosemary into this, in essence, a spell, a candle spell, right? So treat it like as if it were a candle spell. I think that's appropriate. I don't think that's like in any way inappropriate. So if like kind of replace your candle, like your typical candle spell, with a novena candle, whew, that is power. That is so power, because you're incorporating something that is a magical technique, right? Like a candle spell with devotional work, right? It's both, and it's so good. It's so dense with power. So I would do the exact same thing. I would anoint the novena, which is different from what other people would do, because there are glass candles folks will use, right, for a candle spell, but they won't do the whole novena. They won't do a novena candle spell where they would do the 9 days of prayer, right? There are candles that are glass that you can go to any witchy shop, right? They have glass candles, but they're not inherently just novenas. The novena is incorporating the prayer into it, right? The 9 days and the devotional work, et cetera, et cetera. So when you incorporate all of those things at the same time, you have yourself a novena candle spell. So yeah, anointing it with oils. I don't think I've ever burnt a candle without oils and herbs. I really, or at least burning oils. Burning herbs. Like they're plant allies are always incorporated into my witchcraft. So yeah, incorporating that, and then writing petitions. Planetary alignments are really important. So if I'm doing something that's more banishing, so I'll incorporate I'll incorporate Saturn, and I'll do it on a Saturday. If I'm doing something that's more let's see, not nice, I'll do it on a Tuesday, right? So I'll do it on Tuesday, which is Mars Day, right? Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Tuesday is Mars Day, so I'll do something. If I'm doing like hex work or curse work, I'll do it on Tuesday, right? And ooh, a black novena. Ooh,
Yo,
a black
once I
novena.
learned planetary hours, that revamped the entire way I do candle magic.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. You know, something that I really, really like to do is if I want to, because I I like things working out timely. So what I'll do is I'll actually mark my novenas and I'll let it burn to a certain point. So if I want it to burn a certain amount in a certain amount of days, like I'll burn this amount this day, and so that like if I want to do it in accordance to like a planetary hour, I'll like burn it for this much starting at 1 o'clock, in the afternoon, and I'll burn it for that day, and then I'll consecutively do it until it burns out, so that it lands perfectly within 9 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
So it's kind of like those water bottles that you get from like the store where you're just like 1 p.m. you're doing great, 2 p.m. keep going. You know what I mean? And like it's all the way to like 9 p.m. you did a good job. It's like one of those like to keep you hydrated or whatever.
Yes,
I'll
yes.
do that for novenas where it's just like I'll burn it to a certain amount so that it kind of lands at 9 days. It's a kind of good way to organize your spell work.
Totally. My teachers in the Mexican folk magic tradition always taught me that it's best to like let your candle just burn completely without snuffing it out. So that's what I normally try to do. Obviously, under fire safe conditions. Don't just leave novena candles burning around your house unattended, especially if you have pets or children or anyone who might touch it or knock it over. But for me, I have a huge hearth in my living room, which you can see if you're on the Patreon in my video. And so not only that, also put it in like a saucepan. And so I'll put it in a saucepan in the far back of my hearth and let it burn continually. So usually my novenas almost always finish no later than 5 days. One time though, I did some reversal work for some shit that I felt was being thrown at me. That should burn out in like 2.5 days. And I was like, ooh, I put my
Ooh.
whole foot in the back with this fucking reversal candle.
Right.
They're about to get a whole storm coming their way.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I agree with you. I think that it is better to let it burn without snuffing it. But I also think that it's not necessary.
It's really up to tradition.
Yeah, it's not necessary. Only because here's the thing. I am a naturally inherently anxious person when it comes to fire. And
Of
I
course.
also live in California where the ground moves sometimes. So I'm always terrified that if we have an earthquake, my entire house is going to be set on fire because I had a candle lit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So common sense fire safety is very, very important, but there are ways to get around it. I know that JL and Cross talks about it all the time, where they put it into like a big like stock pot, and then they put it in the bathtub, and that's a really great way to like keep it. I would even go as far as like surrounding it with like a wet towel, you know what I mean? Or even like putting it into like surrounding it with water, like in a pool of water, just to be safe. And also having a novena candle off your altar and in the bathtub, the same magic. It still works. Like, do it. Okay, so I think at this point we can talk about when it comes to praying novenas, we can talk about sources on how to do that. I mean, I think there are a lot of places where you can get novenas. Like you can go online and search them. They're pretty accessible. But my favorite place, what's your favorite place to get a novena?
There's actually, I don't have the book, but I know that there is a book. It is published by, I think, like the Catholic Church or the main like community that runs Catholic book publishing. But it's, I believe it's called Treasury of Novenas, and it has novenas for like feast days and solemnities and things like that. But also, I'm pretty sure it's also full of novenas for like certain apparitions of Mary or certain saints. But I know it's chock full of a good amount of novenas. I have a small pamphlet that's full of novenas, so that's where I'll usually get mine. I think I have some novenas in like this giant prayer book. I think I've talked about this book on the show before. I can't remember, but Brother Agustino Tamaturgo, who also goes by Brother ADA, has this book, and it's called My New Everyday Prayer Book. It is fucking thick. I think it's like what, 500 or 600 pages.
Dense as fuck. Oh
It's
my god.
it's a little over 600 pages, but there's a couple of novenas in here, but just like tons of prayers and stuff in general. This is great, but there's novenas in here that I like as well.
Mm.
Also just making one up yourself, like just make one
Yeah,
prayer and stick with it for the time period you're choosing, or do a different
absolutely.
prayer every day for the allotted time of the novena.
Yeah.
Magical power of the saints will help in terms of if you're going to botanica and want to get a specific like novena candle for a spell, because botanicas have such a wide range of candles, from like, you know, Gallina Negra, or, you know, Run Devil Run candles, and you're like, what the hell are all these?
Mhm.
And in the magical power of the saints, he goes into a pretty good description of not every single type of novena candles, and what spell work it can be used for, but he goes into a pretty wide variety of different novena candles that will give you a gist of what you need when you go through botanica. Those are the ones that are coming to the top of my head right now. Do you have any recommendations yourself, Fonzie?
Yeah, my favorite is going to Botanica because they give you like these little like travel size pamphlets of a novena of like a 9-day.
Huh.
Yeah, you've never gotten those?
No,
If
I've
you
always
ask
just
for
asked. Or I've just always asked for, like, you know, what's a good candle for so and so, and they'll be like, this one right here.
no, if you ask for a novena, because like if you not just the candle but an actual novena, like a 9-day prayer,
Huh.
they sometimes they'll have prayers. Like there's a 9-day when I went to my local Botanica recently, I asked for a novena for Saint Michael, and they gave me a pamphlet. That's what I asked for the prayer, for the actual prayer itself, not just the candle. So
Huh.
you can, if I don't know if all of them, mine has the pamphlets, like the little prayer foldable things, and it tells you the 9-day things. I don't know, maybe I have to find it. It's in my drawer. But
I'll
yeah,
have to
you can.
ask.
Yeah, you should ask. It's really convenient because they're like travel size. They're like little bit. They're like the size of prayer cards. They're perfect.
Hmm.
And obviously going online, looking up novena prayers, or like the whole sequence that gives you full instructions on how to do it, how to do the 9 days, how to you know how what each day represents, and etc. But I really love the idea of writing your own novena prayer for the 9 days. I think that's a great idea. Because it makes it much more personal. I do think that you should probably incorporate both the traditional prayers as well as your own prayers, so that you kind of have that, like, the power of the traditional prayers that have been prayed for generations and generations, and also incorporate your own prayers to make it more personal. Also, something that I recommend, I don't know if we mentioned this in the episode yet, but when you see those prayers, I think it's important for you to make it your own. To kind of, if something doesn't really resonate with you and it kind of makes you feel uncomfortable, change it up. Make it more for the time, right? Because like a lot of these prayers were written at a time where things weren't as progressive. So if something makes you feel uncomfortable, fucking change it. I think we
Yeah.
mentioned that already. But
I agree. I mean, I will say, for someone who sometimes has trouble getting creative and making my own prayers, not all the time, but at least when it comes to like a novena, I kind of like the ones that are already like traditionally made. And then, like you said, Fonzie, just if there's a word or two I don't vibe with, or like pretty much just that a sentence, a word, whatever, I'll just change it to my own. But I do like that basically the Catholic Church has a infinite array of templates of novenas at your disposal.
right. I think that's where the value of traditional prayer is very prominent, is that it adds structure to someone who is not structured, like
Mm-hmm.
me. So it adds a lot of, it kind of organizes the chaos a little bit because it's so structured. But I don't think it's necessary to be so rigid.
Mm-mm.
I really don't believe that you should just, stick to the original prayers just because they're you're not really praying it if you change it. I think that's bullshit. I mean, we don't even do the Assassin's Creed. I did it again. We don't.
Yes, no, I would much rather play this, or pray the. Look at me now, I'm saying play instead of pray. I'd much rather pray the Assassin's Creed instead of the Apostles' Creed.
The video games are in my head right now. But yeah, like instead of we don't even pray the Apostles' Creed when we do the Rosary. Like you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like just do it. But yeah, I think that's I really do like the Power of Saints. I love that book. It's a wonderful book, Magical Power of Saints.
Yeah.
It's a great way to kind of help you how to use candles in a magical way, much more
Mhm.
mystical, much more less churchy, you know. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's really all I wanted to talk about when it came to novenas. How about you?
Yeah, I will say there is a website that has a shit ton of novenas, again, which you can build off of. I wouldn't give them any money, but there's a website called the hell is it called?
I think it's like Everyday Novena or something.
Every day, if you just Google Novena prayers, one of the
It's
three
like
top sites that pops up.
it's literally the top site.
Hold on, let me just Google it right now. Novena prayers.
Novena prayers every day or some shit like that.
Praymorenovenas.com, is that the one? I
Oh,
think
maybe
that's the
that.
one.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yes, pray more novenas. And full disclosure, it is more of like a traditionally Catholic site, so you will see novenas for like pro-life or whatever conservative view that Catholic person is taking. And obviously, you don't have to use those. But I will say, just like how the Catholic Church has laid out tons of novenas through prayer cards or Catholic published books, this website has lots and lots of novenas for tons and tons of purposes. I mean, I'm scrolling through right now. There's a section of most popular novenas: Saint Therese, Divine Mercy, Saint Joseph, Our Lady of Sorrows, and then literally they have it all in alphabetical order. So there's a novena for eyesight, a novena for exams, a novena for fertility, a novena to heal the sick, like literally almost every single purpose you can think of. But again, I just caution giving them your money, because that is probably going to go towards more traditionally Catholic oriented organizations which personally go against my worldview and viewpoint. So
I would go further and say that don't give them your fucking money. Don't even be cautious. Don't give them your fucking money. I would even say take those prayers and steal from them. Give it to other people. Like, just take them and steal it and distribute them for free. Like, fuck those people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's a great resource because there's a lot of stuff there, but the people who run it are trash. So it's a good source of information, but don't give them your money and steal from them.
Mhm.
Steal their prayers, because those prayers don't belong to them. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's gonna get me in trouble. I don't care. Whatever.
We're gonna get a fucking cease and desist email from Pray More Novenas in a week.
Doubt it. Highly doubt it. Can you imagine if like a folk Catholic witchcraft podcast, like somehow gets into their radar? That would be so cunt. Actually, I would actually fucking love that. It's like, oh my gosh, guys, we just got a cease and desist from a traditional Catholic organization. I love that.
That'd be funny. That would be funny. I would frame it.
Me too. I would love it. I'd take a picture next to it and post it on Instagram. Oh. Well, anyways, everyone, do the prayers, do the magic, have fun with it. Be queer.
Be queer and pray.
Be queer and yeah, exactly. Be queer and pray.
Queer, pray, love.
Queer, pray, love. Oh gosh, which is all really the same thing, right? It's just like
or queer, pray, fuck.
That's it. All right. Well, with that said, my name is Fonzie. I am Witch Illumisente on Instagram and Twitter.
And my name is Ryan, aka the Mestizo Mystic on Instagram, or just at Mestizo Mystic on Twitter.
And we will see you guys on our next Unholy Communion. Bye.
Bye.